play hell catching her out here on the water. She moves pretty fast. 6.5 knots. Yeah. If you miss her there, you can catch her at the Wooden Boat Show in September. So she started in her present job in 2014. I didn't major in math, but give me 9 years, not bad. She has picked up $3.5 million for the school. They were donated their location down there, not actually in Fort Townsend, 4 miles south, right? Fort Hadlock, on the water. Oh my, beautiful setup. She's got it. So they've got a new marine system program. They got one for mechanical, one for electrical, Beta Marine, the little red diesel engines. She knows how to charm a snake out of a hole. Betsy woke up one morning. Was it 12 of those on the pallets?
24?
Oh, I'm undershot. 24 brand new, fresh on the pallet diesel engines for her students to fondle. How about that, Jeff? It don't get no finer than that. I can see you're drooling, Shannon. Huh? So, her program is recognized as a veteran support campus by the Washington State Department of Vets. So, anybody that's a vet and would like to get rid of their stress and all that, see her. She's got the program, and they pick up the freight for it. Tuition, huh? Don't get any finer than that. It's accredited by the Commissar of Career Schools and Colleges, federal aid for students. So they're not milking the cow; they're handing out to the student stuff. Pretty darn nice. Accolades, oh my. 2018 Business Person of the Year by the Jefferson County Chamber of Commerce. That's the greater Fort Townsend area. It doesn't end there, gang. If you're down there at the Wooden Boat Show this year, 2013, Lifetime Achievement Award down there. So let's hear it for Betsy. She's going to get up here and get down. Yeah.
Right. Other times it's so fun to be able to have a chance to talk with people who love boats and maritime and craftsmanship. And some people are parents of someone I adore. Where are you over there? That's so nice. And people like Bob that I've known over the years. So I'm going to tell you just a teeny bit about my boat, just to give you context for why I do what I do. And then I'm going to be talking about the program at the school. And then I also want to leave some time at the end for Shannon and Jeff to talk about what they're doing, because we're all part of this ecosystem together. So when I turned 40, I bought Glory B. And I learned that the journey is, what am I doing? I'm right in your way. Here. Where would I not be in your way? Okay, and then I'm going to come back and press spacebar to go to the next screen. Okay, so the journey is the destination, and I learned I needed to pay attention to currents and tides and things like that. And I just needed to pay attention to the natural world. The boat was built on Vashon Island in 1914, and I just developed this deep respect for Northwest maritime traditions and the boat builders that built these boats. And some of you have heard of Grandy. The Grandy brothers who built the Lake Union Dreamboat were the sons of the Grandy, whose yard this was. But there's more things I learned from Glory B. As Bob mentioned, in February of 2002, Seattle Yacht Club Marina fire, and Glory B was just on the other side of that boat. And I lived fairly near the yacht club, but I was gone. I was at the grocery store. that's what she looked like when she came out of the water. And I was in boatbuilding school at the time, and my instructor was on shore, and I was out on the dock. And the person operating that steam crane is so good because they're way back up, whatever they're doing. And so they brought these straps around the boat and then really fast flipped the boat horizontal and dropped her on her bottom. And if they had been too high up and dropped her, she would have, broken up. If they'd been too low, she would have scooped water and broken. So they just did it just right. And she floated. And my instructor on shore said, if you want to pay for materials, we could take on the restoration of the boat. So I was about to graduate from the program. And so I stuck around for another year. Around the month after this, I was really nervous from an insurance point of view because the Coast Guard came out and told us that the 13 boats who had sunk were jointly and severally liable for all the pollution. And I was like, I had a yacht policy, but I thought my insurance was to cover, like if I ran into somebody. I'm here to say the insurance covered the pollution and also the salvage costs. I was very, very grateful for that. So she came out of the water along with the other 12 other boats that sank, and here's how she looked. And she was the only one that survived. All the plastic boats had melted. Yeah. So there was one other wooden boat, the Islander, but she wasn't they were in a position to restore her. So this is me and another one of the students, and I had soot on my face for about 2 years. So we up at the boat school, once you start taking the deck off and you take some of the planks off, you can get a lot of things like old repairs and stuff. But we really left about 2/3 of the planks below the waterline and maybe 1/3 above the waterline. And we left all the frames in place. They weren't rotten, they were old, but we put sisters in next to them and we put in new stringers and needed to rebuild the pilot house. And so I got to learn so much in this process. And, I'd had a great liberal arts education, but this was my first time being in a trade school. I wasn't very good at it. Really good in the lectures. Good notes. Get in the shop. Router bit stuck. What do I do? Betsy, try carrying the piece of plywood from the middle instead of one of the ends, whatever. And I realized there are some people who are so gifted at 3 dimensions. My friend Hannah, I couldn't get this to fit in here. I'd say, Hannah, and she would look at it, and I'm totally verbal. She wouldn't say anything for like 2 minutes. Scares me. And she'd say, take a little off here. And it would fit. It's like people see things differently. They know how to problem solve. Give me a room of 800 people, I'll build alignment. Give me a stuck router bit and I'll think it's my problem and I can't fix it. So I learned a lot about problem solving in the physical world and about the people who have a talent to take an idea and express it with their hands. And I feel that we tend right now in our society to overvalue the kind of high tech and blue collar jobs and sometimes undervalue the trade jobs. And I think it takes intelligence to do all of them. And I became a bit of an evangelist for wanting to make sure people can follow either path, depending on their interests. And I also learned that wooden boats build community. The night after the fire, I phoned the previous owner, and they gave me the name of the previous owner. I went back 6 owners. These are people I'd never even met. We're talking on the phone for like 45 minutes about good times of the boat and blah, 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 because I thought she was lost. And when it came time to relaunch, there were about 14 former owners who came down, many of them on walkers. It was so cool. And so I had the good fortune to then, I worked in high tech and I knew I needed to work again, but I had a chance to reinvent by going to boatbuilding school. And when it came time to get a job, my instructor said, well, first off, do you have to work? And I said, yes. And he said, well, do you want to run a boatyard? I mean, how do you combine project management and boats? And I'm like, I don't want to run a boatyard and tell everyone things cost like 20 times more than they think it's going to. And so he said, why don't you apply for the opening at the Center for Wooden Boats down in South End of Lake Union? So I ran that for 11 years. And I learned on the job a lot of things about running a nonprofit. And I thought it was going to be about taking care of a fleet of boats. And it turned out it was way more about urban development because South Lake Union was developing all around us. But it led me into a vocation where I could, to me, spiritually, I just want people to have access to the water. And vocationally, I want people to have access to jobs and craftsmanship. Last summer, I finally went for my first cruise on Roy B. There she is. So that's what I'll be doing in 4 days. So that led me in 2014, as Bob said, to the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building. And the mission of the school is to teach boat building and marine systems, engines, plumbing, while developing the individual as a craftsperson. We're not trying to create commodities. Here's a person who can be a widget in a machine. We want each person to develop skills they'll carry with them for a lifetime. And students learn how to problem solve. They learn how to build. They learn how to measure. They learn how to work in a team. And so people go on to do all sorts of things. But we are a post-secondary vocational training school. And we want to make sure our programs always stay relevant. When I first took the job, I had people saying, wooden boat school, is that even relevant? And it is in our part of the world. In Port Townsend, there's still a lot of yards working on the fishing fleet from Alaska. And boats of any hull type, a lot of them have interiors with wood or certain parts are made of wood. And we're seeing more wood composite construction as well. So our boat building program is staying up with the newer technologies like wood composite, especially as we have fewer trees around. But the way we do that is we have a program advisory group. So it's a bunch of employers. And we said to our employers doing strategic planning 8 years ago, is our program relevant? And they said, yes, we hire your graduates. They're never going to build a new wooden boat in our shops, but they know how boats come together. So they're really good at problem solving. They know how to measure. They know how to use tools. They know how to work with wood. They know how to work with shape. Keep teaching your time-tested curriculum. We hire your graduates, ... But you have to add a marine systems program because that's at least 2/3 of the work we do. And so Cherry, executive director, we had everybody wanted to, the instructors, the board, the volunteers, the ones, good idea, let's add a systems program. We didn't have an instructor, we didn't have curriculum, we didn't have space to do it, we didn't have any equipment. So what I'm really excited to tell you is we now are running our 7th cohort of marine systems, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit about what they teach. Both programs are accredited by the Accrediting Commission for Career Schools and Colleges, the national accreditor, blah, blah, blah. The reason that's important is it helps make it possible for students to use federal student aid to attend our school. And what I've learned is a lot of people think federal student aid can only be used for 4-year colleges, but it can be used for trade schools, not just ours, but others. One of the requirements we elect to be accredited by this group, is we have to document and have verified by an outside entity that at least 70% of each cohort end up in jobs using the skills they learned at the school. And we were open to retired dentists coming and learning at our school, but we really prioritize people who want to enter the trades because we're measured on everybody, whether or not they're retired and planning to work again. So we really take it seriously to make sure what we're teaching is relevant. Last year's class was about 53 students. This year's was about 60. And one thing that is both an opportunity and a challenge, I guess, is 3/4 of the people who come to our school are career changers. They've done something else out, median age 33. So we're not getting people right out of high school. We're getting people who maybe been a contractor and now they want to learn woodworking, or they've been an electrician, they want to learn wood, or they've been a programmer and they want to learn to use their hands, or they've been in food service and they want to work on tall ships. So we really have an older audience, and the opportunity is trying to let some of the young people who want to work with their hands know that this is an option, which is why I've been so grateful that you all hosted bringing Shannon and Jeff here tonight as well. So in the boat building program, it's 12 months long. It started 42 years ago in the Port of Port Townsend by some boat builders who wanted to teach the trade to the next generation. And honestly, those boat building instructors, amazing. One of them taught 35 years and still comes by. The boats are varied that get built, smaller to larger. On the traditional side, both Carvel type hulls, where the planks are next to each other and you jam cotton in between. And when the boat goes in the water, it swells and presses against each other. And I still think it's magic. And then the lap straight style, someone was telling me they were working on, anyway, one at home. But on the wood composite side, cold molding, vacuum infusion, and then there's skills, everybody learns lofting and finishing and stuff like that. The first quarter of that 12-month program, people are learning how to use hand tools and learning how to interpret two-dimensional drawings of shape. And so they build half hulls like this, and then they also learn how to loft the old-fashioned way, where you put a piece of white, plywood on the floor, paint it white, and then you scale up from these drawings to full size, and then you can use that to pick up shape as you're building the boat. Sharpening, drafting half hulls, and a lot of band-aids that first quarter. And the first quarter, everybody participates as a team member on at least starting, if not finishing, a flat bottom skiff, a fairly simple boat. And it's always so cool, those launch days. You'd be surprised how many of our students have never been in a boat. I am equally surprised the number who don't really care about going in a boat. It's true. I think about a quarter or a fifth haven't been. So then when they come back from the holiday break, so in January, start lofting the real projects that are going to be built. And that's this traditional method. We talked to our PAC and said, should we still do that now that there's CAD? And you know what? They said, keep doing this because people have to understand shape. And CAD is just a tool. They have to know how to interpret the CAD drawings and do that. But but first they have to really understand shape. And when I walk people through the shop, the contractors are the ones who go, I am so glad we're doing this because I build houses. And when I get drawings from architects, a lot of the architects, they've never built a house. So it works in CAD, but it doesn't work in real life. So anyway, we're teaching, probably one of the only places in the country we're still teaching that old fashioned. And then backbone construction and just how to get things set up, molds, framing, laying out planks. Third quarter, more planking, corking, finish work, deck structure, spars. And, there can be a little bit of everything each quarter. Decking, superstructure, interior comes up in the summer, rigging and hardware, making spars, finishing a pilot house, etc. So one thing about the school is each year different projects are being built. And part of the reason is the instructors want to teach problem solving. And so they do it real time. They haven't built this boat before. So they're demonstrating the kind of problem solving you bring to a project at the same time the students are learning it. And when you look at the 4 private boat building schools around the country, Iris in Newport, Rhode Island, Landing School in Maine, Great Lakes in Michigan, one of the things that characterizes our school is the diversity of boat projects that we're building. And these are just a few of the, can you see if I'm here?
Yeah.
Yes. These are just a few of the boats that have been built over the last few years. A folk boat out sailing. We have another folk boat under construction right now. This Dark Harbor was built for a student who then moved to New Zealand, so that's where it's sailing. This was built for someone up in Canada. This is the human-powered submarine that we built for the UW engineering department who races these. And that was the only wooden entry that year internationally.
Is it pedal driven?
Yeah. And they wear scuba gear and then they're in pedaling. So it doesn't keep all the water out. And this is Azalita. So this is cold molded and it's in Chicago now. And this is a kind of a work skiff that one of the instructors remembered the concept of from the East Coast and then expanded it a little bit. And a traditional rowing skiff, a SID skiff, came out of the San Francisco area. Really, really beautiful craftsmanship and beautiful projects. And the way we pay for those, about half of the boats are built on commission. Somebody wants a boat built and they look at different places. If they come to us, what we want them to know is it's going to be built well, but we can't tell you when it's going to be done. Because our first product is education. And if someone's really slow, they should probably do the thing again. And if they're really good, they should probably move on to another thing to practice. So the other half we build on spec, we're really bad at selling boats. And wooden boats used to sell more frequently than they seem to right now. So that's how we fund that. Our alums from the boat building program really do go all over the country because they come from all over the country. About half the students come from the Northwest and the other half are from probably 16 different states each year, and some from overseas. And this just shows a few in the last few years and where they ended up in Maine and Michigan and North Carolina, Washington, elsewhere. It does seem that a disproportionate number decide they'd like to stay on the Olympic Peninsula or in the Northwest because they might kind of fall in love with the natural environment, natural beauty. I'm switching gears now to the Marine Systems program. So remember, we didn't have anything. It always takes a visionary leader, I think. And we were so fortunate to be able to hire Kevin Ritz, shown on the top right. He had taught for 15 years for the American Boat and Yacht Council, ABYC, around the country. He taught systems classes, but he was tired of teaching people through lecture and then testing them through multiple choice without any hands-on. And he had people from boatyards saying, wait, I'm hiring these people with 6 certificates from ABYC, but they can't actually make the electrical connection. So it's like, here, Kevin, I've got $5,000. You want to start a program? He said yes. And the reason is because he and his wife lost their 7-year-old son to electric shock drowning. He died in a marina. Well, he had a life jacket on. Well, his mom was on the dock walking with him. But there was a boat leaking electricity and he died. And so Kevin and Cheryl, his wife, have devoted their lives to wanting to make things safer for other people. So it's that value that drives, those values that drive Kevin. And he is now a national expert on electrical and corrosion issues. On Sunday, he said, Betsy, I have to go check out the corrosion on one of the Western State ferries. I'm like, okay. He just gives his all. And so he really helped us make this program happen. And we have, it's a 9-month program. We're teaching to industry standards, and Jordan came in and helped teach, and Tyler. So part of what we're going to be doing over the next 3 to 5 years is bringing in the next lead instructor and getting them trained, because at some point Kevin wants to move out of the lead role and just teach electrical and corrosion, his passions, which is fabulous. We now have a 4,800 square foot shop dedicated to the marine systems program. And I'm thrilled to be able to offer that to people. We started small, incrementally, made sure we had an audience, made sure it worked. And then this was about a $900,000 building. $450,000 came from the state legislature, and we raised the rest privately. You can see inside, there's workbenches for all the students, and everything's on wheels. We can move things around. So then the question is, what's the content? And marine electrical is about 3 months of the 9 months, because it touches everything in the boat, and that's also Kevin's expertise. As you know, there's a lot happening with battery technology right now, and so it's been amazing. If you've heard of Victron, their national sales manager was out. They've donated some equipment to the program. They featured us on their website. They're a European company. If you've heard of Wakespeed, they're regulators, kind of the next generation after Balmar. And they are coming in 2 days, tomorrow and the next day, to talk to the students. And the company who bought them, Firefly or something from the Southwest, coming up, videotaping them presenting to the students, so they'll use that in their marketing materials. Kevin's just bringing like the current technology into the classroom, and it's really, really cool. From basics to advanced, the students all build electrical systems. It's not just theoretical, it's also hands-on. Corrosion is another thing that he teaches. Basically, they go aboard 4 different hull types: steel, aluminum, fiberglass, and wood, and learn how to take readings, because it's different on the different boats, to see if there's any leaking electricity. And they learn the science of it, and also go into the yard to see it. Marine diesel engines, that's where we have the 24 Beta Marine, one for each student to practice all the regular maintenance tasks on. We also have some older engines they can just take all the way apart. They're not going to hurt anything. Hydraulics don't cover a ton, but just some basics and safety things. Propulsion, for sure. And now Kevin's adding electric propulsion as well. So we have this wonderful Paulsbo boat that the Wood program built, and each class is converting it between diesel and electric, and the students take it out and operate it in each case too, so they really get to feel what it feels like, as well as how to make the switch. We also now have 24 Suzuki outboards, and the Suzuki sales team was out. And one of the things I'm really excited about is Suzuki is offering to our students free access to Suzuki University, which is an online training program they have. If somebody goes through that, completes all the sections, and then does their in-person week-long class, they're certified Suzuki mechanic. At that point, they can work in a dealership for a few years, 60, 70, 80,000 for, I think, 3 years to complete the apprenticeship thing. And then they're a totally certified Suzuki mechanic, and then go anywhere in the world that needs them and probably earn 6 figures. So in our class right now, this is total go-getter, wonderful human. And she used to work in HR at REI, but she wanted to get her hands, work with her hands. And she's thinking about doing that Suzuki program because she loves traveling, and this would be, living wage for her to have. For all of us, I try to not have my instructors think about it. And so I think with a lot of marine systems jobs, they don't pay as well as if you're in the automotive industry. But I think maybe outboards is one exception. So we'll see. Marine electronics, you guys know NEMA and everything else, and all in that world all keeps changing. Plumbing, we have a mock-up. People hook up a head, a sink, a holding tank. steering and controls, heating and refrigeration, and people get jobs. You know, yesterday the systems program went down to Safe Boat. That's in Bremerton. It's aluminum boats. And one thing that's really cool, they just became an employee-owned company. And so when but you know, they're so thirsty. This industry is so thirsty for trained people. Their CEO walked around with our students for like half the day. And I think 2 of the students might be interested in going down and working there. So we still have openings for our October class. We have 8 more spots open in systems and about 20 spots open in boat building. We have information on our website. I gave you some free magazines. The requirement for someone to attend, they have to have graduated from high school or have their GED, physical ability for day-to-day work, and the ability to understand instructions in English. They don't have to have built anything before. They don't have to have a portfolio. The instructors are magic. They take people who've never used their hands and people who've been contractors. I mean, it's really amazing. And to apply, it's all on our website. And we also have a small but caring staff who can help people. And international students have some special hoops to go through. For next year, the tuition for the 12-month program is $23,000. And then there's a fee for tools. And then a 9-month diploma program is $19,000 plus some money for tools. It's expensive for people because they're not working. This is 8 to 5. This is totally intense. And they have to find a place to live and feed themselves. So on our website, it says for the boat building program, you're going to spend $56,000 because we have to, for our creditor, we have to say if you add in the cost of housing and everything. Well, our area, like everything else, housing is going up so much. We follow Peninsula College. And this year, we had to take it up $9,000 because that's what Peninsula College has figured out. The price of living's gone up. So it's really important we have ways to help students fund their education. And the really big thing is if someone hasn't gone to college before and qualifies by filling in a FAFSA, they can use federal student aid. Veterans, if they have benefits, are eligible, can apply those to coming to the school. AmeriCorps people can apply their benefits. We also have scholarships that the school administers. Up until 5 years ago, we had like $10,000. Through some generous gifts, we now have about $70,000. And this year, we started a brand new inaugural event at Seattle Yacht Club in March, and we raised $20,000. So I'm really thrilled. We have more money available for scholarships. But also on our website, we list other organizations who give scholarships. One of those is Mike Rowe Foundation. He used to have a TV show. We had 6 students this year with micro scholarships. One of them was up to $17,000. And I think they have to do a little video. And I mean, they have to work to apply, which puts off a lot of people. But we want to let people know about those scholarships as well. Bob mentioned we want to be an inclusive environment, and veterans get a ton of training how to get into the military, but not so much training how to come back out. We want to be a supportive environment. I had one veteran say to me, "This is the weirdest school. It's a combination of hippies and veterans." And that's what we like it. So, you know, we try to leave politics at home. I only had one fist fight. Politics wasn't left at home. And we have a vet corps member, like AmeriCorps, but a veteran, supporting the veteran students. People get to live on the Olympic Peninsula, which is like Bellingham. I mean, you know, what a cool part of the world. And I think that's partly why we get so many people from out of state who want to come have their adventure in the Northwest. Housing is a huge and critical issue. And our campus has grown over time. The first little waterfront place was acquired in 2000, and the one next to it in 2004, 5 acres up the hill in 2005 or 7 or something. And then in 17, we bought another acre that has a historic building with a restaurant in it, the Ajax, if any of you've been there. And in October of this year, I'm thrilled to say we closed on purchasing the 7 cabins right adjacent to the school, which are now going to be used for student housing. So and also Habitat for Humanity is doing a project within a mile of the school. They bought 17 acres, zoned for 3 houses right now, but once the new sewer is in, and most of the money's raised for that, it'll be 150 to 200 houses. Habitat's going to own the underlying land, and then there'll be a requirement that anything built on the land can only appreciate like max 1% a year or something. So it'll stay affordable, and they're looking for partners. So we're hoping to be able to build some number of housing units to rent to students as part of that. So I think maybe we have a plan for housing in the future. I wanted to mention that the person who founded the school, he didn't say he wanted to teach boat building. He said he wanted to teach craftsmanship, and he thinks boat building is a good way to do that. One of those instructors who taught for 35 years, I'm like, that's craftsmanship. And I think in Jeff Hammond's mind, it's a combination of integrity, doing something that's high quality, not because someone's looking over your shoulder, but because it's the right thing to do, combined with the fact that you do it efficiently because you've learned tips of the trade. You don't just take forever to get it done. You're like this. And I think that's a really healthy tension to have when thinking about craftsmanship. And I think it applies equally to marine systems as it does to boat building, because you've seen it yourself. You've seen an electrical panel before where you know exactly where everything's going and everything's labeled. It's really clear for the next person to work on it. Someone took the time to do it right. And I think that's why I love working at the school, because I get to be surrounded by people who really believe in those values. So that's my presentation. But before I take questions, I was just wondering if Shannon and Jeff, I don't know, might have a few words to say about what they're doing to also help human beings move forward. Maybe some of the barriers you're seeing them facing, or some of the opportunities, or none of that. It's just, I want to share the stage with you guys. So take it on.
Yeah, sure. So
I think you need to come up because he's
probably should come up there.
Oh, God, yeah. Center stage.
I almost just wanted to get you my application to apply for this. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for having me. I'm Jeff Tetrick. I'm the Career and Technical Director for the Bellingham School District. So what we're trying to do right now with the vision of our exec team and Superintendent Dr. Baker is to look at all the possibilities of students in terms of passion areas. And what we really want to do, especially with our bonds that we're passing, is building facilities that will enhance that and allow students to really reach out and test those passion areas where they can. So some of the things that we're doing, we're opening, when we opened Options High School, we opened a aerospace program. So now students can attend aerospace. Now with the new Seaholm High School that just opened up on the south side, we want to have a small boat handling class there, and also a marine tech program for kids to get into the marine tech program and do a lot of the stuff that the Marine Systems is doing. But it's not going to be 9 months. It's going to be, a little bit more condensed into the school year, and it's only going to be a touch point. But it's a touch in the right direction for the kids that want to go in that area. And I think that, what we're doing in education right now is we're really doubling down on our electives and what we can do to get kids moving down the right paths. And I think opening the door for more electives, that's what we've been doing the past, since 2018, when we opened up the schedule for high school, is we really encourage kids to take electives that met their passion areas, and then they can pursue opportunities just like this. So these are the opportunities that are going to be available at the job fair on Thursday. And these are going to be the things that we want to showcase for kids, because there's so many opportunities out there. And these are amazing opportunities for kids to do. And they can come back and, work for Suzuki. I was just telling Bob, that's like my dream job. I want to work on outboards. So I'm like, man,
Yeah.
why? But yeah, so that's what we're doing in Bellingham. So we're working our tail off to try to make sure that we can build programs, even in this weird budget situation across the state. We're trying to keep all these elective opportunities open for kids, because that's really what's keeping them in school, is something they can grab onto and see the future. So
Beautiful.
thanks for having us. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Phantom's got a little razzle dazzle for you now.
Yeah.
Being introduced by Bob is a unique.
Yes. I am not a public speaker, so this is out of my element, but I'm Shannon Waterman. I'm the career and college counselor at Meridian High School. And I work really closely with especially seniors who are trying to figure out what in the world they're going to do after they graduate. Graduation is about 3.5 weeks away, and a lot of them are panicking. So we try to make it so they don't get to the panicking point. One thing that we've really emphasized over the last couple of years, a lot of our students will attend NCTA, which is the Northwest Career and Technical Academies. We've got one, sounds like at Options. Meridian has a welding academy, as well as a fire science academy. Down in Mount Vernon, they've got criminal justice, culinary, medical assisting, and I don't know, vet tech.
Yep.
And vet tech. So those are great opportunities for high school students to take hands-on learning in high school and really figure out what they want to do. They get English, science, and math credit for most of those classes, and so they're not taking those credits at the high school. They're doing it in an area that they're interested in the hopes that when they graduate, those skills that they've learned hands-on will translate right into the workforce or further education. So things like this are great for those students who traditional learning is not their thing. And I've had the privilege of watching several students pretty closely who have gone from not doing well in school at all, hating school, going into one of the academies, flourishing, and have awesome plans for after graduation. So things like this are really important. I think even more now than they used to be. So it's been fun to kind of push kids that I know into trades, because four-year college isn't for everybody. So need to see those kids really flourish once they get the hands on stuff. So that's
All right, man. Yeah.
So my proposal is we open the doors and then I answer questions. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
And we could turn the projector. Did we turn the projector off first?
Yeah.
Or I could just turn my thing off. Do you have any questions for me? I won't be offended if you don't. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what type of power plant does Glory B have? And what type of electrical system and all that, a little bit of.
So she has an Isuzu diesel,
Okay.
like 37 horsepower. And she has a house, it's all 12 volt, the house baked and the starter batteries, and then 2 6 volts for the house baked wired together. And I don't yet have a wake speed regulator, but I will shortly. I have a little solar power,
Okay.
the solar energy happening as well. Originally, she had a model something, a Marinized Model 2 engine or something like that. And at one point before I got her, she had a big Buddha diesel from a tank, I guess, I don't know. And relative to electrical, I'll just say when I was restoring her after the fire, you know, a lot of people have different priorities around restoration of historic things. And so, you know, I wanted her to look the same. But there was one person who said, boy, it's going to be hard to get the electrical system for her going. And I go, well, not really. I went to fisheries. And he said, I mean, he just turned beet red and said, you're not telling me you're going to use plastic covered wire in your and I'm like, I was just in a fire and I was afraid about liability. I'm not going to do anything but meet the standards currently. So with Glory B, you know, that front deck canvas on the top, just like it used to be, underneath tongue and groove, just like it used to be. And you don't see the epoxy coated piece of plywood in between. Or the chain used to go right into the bilge. And what you don't see is a little fiberglass tray that we stuck in to
Right,
catch
right,
the
right,
mud
right,
and
right,
send
right,
it out
right.
before it went in the bilge. Because I personally think that if there were shop vacs in 1914, the boat builders would have used them. I think innovation is kind of what boat builders do. So anyway, but I know it's a personal choice. I know you didn't ask about that part.
No,
of these
that's
things,
great.
but,
I'm glad to hear about that. What type of windlass?
It's 5 letters. I can't remember.
Okay.
But I bought it. Well, of course I bought it new in 2002. But,
Ideal.
yes, thank you. And I had to ask them not to put stainless on the outside, just to leave it bronze.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's ideal. Good call. I knew it was 5 letters.
Well, it was 1914 boat ideals making windlasses in the 20s and 30s when they started. So not many.
It felt
trucks
normal.
before. Yeah.
Now, what you don't know is, the bronze rail on the deck? That went on last year. I didn't have a railing up there, and I was, I thought, oh, I can't do that historic, blah, blah. And I'm going out on the boat with, I don't know if any of you know Carol Hassey, she's been a sailmaker in Port Townsend for a long time. So, and then I was standing on my boat with her, and then Pete Langley from Port Townsend Foundry. And I mean, he has all the patterns from all the old boatyards. Anyway, and I'm going, oh, I can't mar the historical character. And they go, boats in 1914 had handrails. I've got the handrails that fit, la, la, la. You can have handrails. And I'm like, well, I can't ask for any more experts than that. So I got handrails. They look like they've been on the boat forever, and it's safer for crossing the straits. And then Pete also pointed out, I've had handrails down there before, and now I have these rails out here. And so we were like, oh, probably have to take the handrails off. And he goes, no, you don't. And he put the fenders right between the handrails and that, and then he leans back on them and goes, you got lawn furniture. This is the innovation thing that I really admire. So, any other questions? Yes, sir.
So if somebody wanted to have you build a boat for them,
Yeah.
how does that work?
I have the person talk to our lead boat building instructor, because I made the determination when I came in, I don't want administration deciding which boats. That had happened prior to me, and it wasn't a good thing. So the boat building instructor knows what they're trying to teach, and some boats will have the right elements for that, and some boats won't. And also the boat building instructor can suss out, is this just person who's going to be toe tapping, when's it going to be done? Or are they into the spirit of the fact that in addition to getting a boat, they're also supporting the trade? I think there's generally some back and forth on the design. And there are some people who think, oh, go to the school, it'll be way cheaper. And, that's the last thing. We don't want to undercut the very people we train to go into the trade. And yeah, maybe we're cheaper, but we also don't tell you when it's going to be done. So I think it's a trade-off. So
So you do
Yeah.
modern designs as well as traditional?
yeah. I'd love to put you in touch with, I'd love to put the friend you have in touch with our boat building instructor. And he's got some cool ideas of boats that would be nice to build, and we can go back and people can go back and forth with them on that. It generally won't get started until January in some school year. So, yes, ma'am.
Is there an age limit for your students?
No, we've had, on the younger side, well, it's not really an age. They have to have graduated from high school. And on the older side, I think we had a fellow in his 80s there. I know for sure we had a fellow in his 70s, and he had never graduated before. I think he had to leave high school early for some reason, and it was so cool. It was before my time, but he was in Oregon, and he brought the principal up from his school to come be in his graduation at the boat school. It was just so cool. Anyway, so no, but we're trying to prioritize people who want to go into the trades. but we don't want to rule out people who are passionate. Some alums have told me part of what they valued in the program, I mean, maybe they're 40 now or 60 now, or however long the program's been going, 40 years. And they say one thing that was so valuable was they were young, being around people older than them. It's like around boats, you've probably seen it. It's an authentic way people of different generations hang out with each other. And I think the same is true with the building side. So, no, there's not an outside age. It is true. There's a lot of getting up and sitting down and kneeling and stuff like that. We try to accommodate where needed. I have had people who are recently retired during the program, and then after the first quarter, I don't want to have to show up. And we require attendance because it's a team sport. And if someone's not showing up, then everybody gets behind. So we do try to insist on that part. And some people don't want that discipline. I don't blame them. But we don't want to hold back the rest of the students. I love your questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I hearing it right that the local high schools get kind of a taste of maritime trades? Is that?
Yeah, we're working towards that right now. What we've done is we've built aerospace, and we're using the Core Plus curriculum. That's the state approved.
I guess I was looking at the maritime trades.
Yeah. So we couldn't do everything all at once just because of budget. So we went to aerospace, then we added construction at Spalding High School, and we're going to do maritime trades at Seaholm High School next year, and then small boat handling. So that's our progression of what we can afford to do right now.
And then how does that, how do you find those people that then might have a taste for that?
I come to Bellingham Yacht Club and ask, how can I meet people? We set up some links.
Yeah, well, for programs like this is, the first time I've seen it. So I'm going to go back to all of our buildings in our community and share this with our career counselors, and they're going to reach out and invite Betsy to our job fairs. And this will just be, one more arrow in the quiver of what we have to offer kids. There's lots of programs out there, and I love seeing this kind of stuff.
Anacortes has in Anacortes, Skagit has a marine tech program, so that's available to students.
Yeah.
We're kind of the pricey private school, and the cool thing is it's a really good education and it's really intense. Like you get a lot in 9 months or a year. But some people need a different model. Peninsula College on the Peninsula is going to do stackable certificates. You can go for 2 months and get a welding certificate, and then go work, and then go back and for 2 months get an outboard certificate, and then work some more. And that's a really good model for some people too. And then Skagit has a model where it's more like, I think, 30 hours a week, so you could be working evenings and in some weekdays anyway. And so I think it's good to have different kinds of choices.
And once we get established, we can start making articulation agreements with credit ahead opportunities for kids similar to Running Start, but we also keep them in the high school. Question.
And I'm less useful on that front because my accreditor won't let me give any high school. It all has to be post-secondary credit, whereas the state colleges can give Running Start.
So what's good to know is that it's fast. The kids can use the FAFSA
Yes.
in order to access
Yes.
the tuition.
And it's not obvious to people.
Yeah.
So I think that's really huge.
Yeah, that's what my team needs to know.
Seattle Times they have some ad that's talking about how you can use aid to go to schools, and they mention our school. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.